Hello, my Virgo friends. This is Dr. Shiny with a general tarot reading for you for the month of April. Also, I am considering going to two readings a month and doing a mid-month reading as well. If that's something that you think you would like, or if you think that's too much, please let me know in the comments, and I'll try to consider everyone's feedback. I'm going to get straight in the reading today for my fellow Virgos. What we have for your current situation is the Queen of Cups. And the Queen of Cups is a person who influences others by displaying a balance of emotions, by displaying the ability to control his or her emotions, whoever the current situation is describing. Um, it's it has a command of the emotions to the point to where you can look as though you behave, or you can behave as though you're angry or happy, but not necessarily feel those emotional states at the same time. So there's sort of an ability to consciously control this and to influence other people with that tool, to to make people want to make you happier by virtue of like pretending to be sad, that kind of thing. Reverse psychology, but it's not really that simple. Um, well, let me continue on, and maybe it'll be a little clearer. What's crossing you is the Four of Cups, or influencing you. This card is about perspective. This card is about trying to secure a particular vision of the future, but upon realizing that vision of the future, you are now aware that it comes with some chains or some tethers. So, for example, moving into a new house is a really great, fun experience, but then it gives you a lot of obligations that go along with it, with taxes and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times, before we get into a situation, we don't think about all the negatives as much as we think about the positives, and as much as we think about how much it would make us happy or make us happier. So. Um, this is a natural part of life. This is a part of growth. If you achieved a state at which you felt completely happy, like there was nothing left for you to achieve, then you would just sort of sit still. You know what I mean? You wouldn't do anything. So these desires and wants and everything, they are a part of the human consciousness, so they can't be just like eliminated. So don't look at this as a bad thing. This is just a continuation of cycles and the need for growth. You know what I mean? So this may be a person who can control their emotional states very well, but they are just sort of now searching for something more. Where you came from, the past that got you here, is the Four of Coins. And the Four of Coins is sort of about material comfort, the idea of a particular living situation, a particular home, uh, a particular family with some specific person, a vision that has a specific nature to it, not just totally general, like I'd like to have kids, right? Like you actually can imagine and, going to the hospital, that type of thing. So this has influenced the current situation in the past. This has thrown you into a place where to have a really strong balance of your emotions means to be living quite in the present, in the now. And you've come from a place of like more nostalgic and, well, it's kind of a concern for the future, like I want to be safe in the future, so I'm going to sacrifice a little comfort now. You've come from that to being much more in the present, and now you're being asked to sort of to go more into the future. What I see in the future is the Seven of Coins, And the Seven of Coins represents like accomplishment, specifically between two forces. These little deer-looking thing here, one of them has a sun and one of them has a moon. Those represent sort of feminine and masculine aspects, or just the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, it can be. But you're looking for a unity in some way that will lead to great success, like a very good situation, like perfect situation. The foundation of the current situation is the Tower, and I like to think of the foundation as a sort of a lesson, or the lesson, the source of the lesson that you are learning right now. And because of that, the way I would interpret the Tower is institutions, right? So marriage, the church, sororities, you know, any type of group like that that is formed, it has very tangible benefits to it, but those benefits are temporary and they're limited. Okay, so this is saying to keep in mind, or the foundation of what you're trying to learn here is that labeling and naming things, it doesn't necessarily solve the problem, it just gives you a way to handle it, right? So I had a friend who was talking about a mental disorder that she was diagnosed with. And before she had been diagnosed with this, and after, I noticed a huge change in her thought process and her appearance. Before, she was able to sort of like try to work through these issues with you. She would you know, pay attention to what you were saying. If she was upset, she would take advice, input, you know. But then after she got the diagnosis, which had words on it like the victim, or the patient is powerless to control her mood swings or something like that. So now that she's got that diagnosis, she is free to just completely reject all advice, because she says, well, my disorder won't let me feel that way, or something like that, you know. And I think it's sort of an unforeseen weakness of scientific process and just institutions in general, is that they are temporary. They're tools, right? They're a representation of something real, or an alliance, but they are not physical realities, right? So they're ideas that are supposed to be tools to accomplish something. So if you put too much of your faith in these tools, it's only a matter of time before they come down, and there are more permanent ways for you to establish your behavior patterns and mentality that are based on what's true for you, what comes from your heart, rather than just building things in the external world, if you know what I mean. Your crowning thoughts, what your mind is on, is the Empress. And the Empress represents an aspect of divine feminine. The divine feminine. This card is heavily connected with grounding. So taking in things, appreciating things with the five senses, right? Like taste and sounds and touch and things like that. Really kind of creature comforts. This is being happy, and again, this is on your mind, so either you're trying to be this way, or you are this way, and you're trying to, you know, shift more into the future. That's possible as well, but you're in a place where you like experiencing simple comforts and simple, you know, good music and, you know, that kind of thing. You've come to a simple place where grand concepts for the future are not necessarily as necessary, they're not that necessary to achieve a sense of happiness for you anymore. You know, you've kind of come to a place where you are free of childlike wandering dreaming, and now your dreams have like a function or a purpose to them in a way. Okay, sorry about that, the little loop-de-loop we did there. Your advice for the current situation is the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is about being over-encumbered. So in this context, I have to say that I think that what it's saying is don't be over-encumbered when... So it's okay for you to sort of follow your intuition and jump into things a little bit if the risk is something that you can foresee is mitigatable, or that you might be able to offset in some way. But sometimes you're already over encumbered a little bit where you are. You would like a little more rest or something, and so piling on something else has a way of sort of breaking you down. It can also have a way of like really unlocking your potential, and it can it's kind of throwing yourself into the deep end a little bit. So you have to use some wisdom, because you know, there are some risks that you can take that will almost certainly lead to a positive outcome, a positive reward. But there are also sometimes where you bite off a little more than you can chew, you know. So wisdom is sort of finding the balance between those two. And being that this is in your advice card, I feel like it should be pretty clear to you whether or not you are sort of bored and need to become over encumbered in order to like push you, or you're already over encumbered and you really can't pile on anymore. It's sort of one of the two, and it's up to you to decide which. But anyway, for the current environment, what you have is the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands is, this is a person who manifests her dreams as a means to inspire others. It doesn't have to be a female. Again, this is a general reading, so these characters are interchangeable as far as male and female goes. But somebody in your environment influences other people through being a person who has like a tremendous amount of willpower to create something, to get out there and do something rather than talk about it. You know, she'll sit there while everybody else is talking and having fun and be drawing, you know, doing art or something like that. Or right? He's prolific in some way, and his art or production or even business or something like that, it inspires others to follow that influence. So that's in your current environment. That's what's somebody close to you, close by, close in your mind, your home life, work life, that type of thing. Now your fears are the High Priestess. The High Priestess represents knowledge, ancient knowledge sometimes. It also has an intuitive context to it, because this type of knowledge is not just like flat 3D, 2D facts, right? It's not like it's not like figure without background. It's got both, so it's like it pops. It's 3D and it's meaning, because it's reflexive. It allows you to analyze and organize information from different time periods and stuff like that. That kind of knowledge is what's considered occult knowledge, something that is sort of hidden from the layperson's eyes, that when they see the words, they see them as sort of flat or dimensionless. But the more knowledgeable you are, the more deep you can read into the words. So that's this type of knowledge. So this is like arcane wisdom in a way, intuitive knowledge, to where it's almost like you have a library in your own subconscious that you know how things work. It comes to you. It's like clairvoyance, that kind of thing. And this being in your fears card, I really feel like what it represents is that you are afraid that you don't know enough, that you are afraid to move into the next stage or something like that, that you're afraid to really follow your intuition, your heart's desires and stuff like that, because you're not convinced that they're working in your best interest yet. Even though you really know what you want, you're not convinced that it's good for you. Everybody tells you that you shouldn't feel that way or something like that. And so the situation is sort of, this is teaching you the value in institutions, because they sort of do slow down the process of like your heart just taking you directly to where it wants to go, because it's kind of painful to travel there too fast. There's a speed at which your heart's desire should be followed. You're supposed to sort of ride the wind, not shove yourself into a cannon and and go full force toward the direction the wind is blowing, right? But us Virgos can sometimes have a tendency to want to do that. We figure out the right way to go, and then we're like, well, okay, now it's time for me to get there the fastest, you know? And so you just like shove yourself into a cannon. But anyway, so the overall message is the Strength card, and this suggests that what you're going through is primarily an experience to teach you how to truly communicate and interact with people. So in the card, there's like a vulnerable woman who is sort of caressing and caring for this lion, and the lion could easily turn around and just eat her, but because she trusts the lion, and the lion is a big scary monster, so he doesn't have a whole lot of friends, right? So finding a person who he knows could be afraid of him, but still wants to be there, like still wants to be his friend, it sort of disarms him, because he doesn't want to kill his friend. You know what I mean? And so he comes to the point where he has affection for this individual, even though she's essentially, you could look at what she's doing as sort of manipulation. She knows that if she acts the way that the tiger wants her to act, or the lion or whatever, he will protect her. He will be good to her, right? But because it's a symbiotic relationship, because they're both getting something out of it, it doesn't make it to where it has to be something deplorable. It doesn't have to have a negative connotation or context when you talk about like manipulation in that sort of way, because this is what really the Strength card is about. The Strength card is about creating safe environments for people, and it can be even people you would consider to be your enemy, to create a safe mental environment around them to where they can express themselves or what's bothering them, and that has a way of healing them. And by virtue of healing them, they'll start to look out for you, and that's strength. That's strength in the external environment. That's people's will being behind your will. You know what I mean? You do a lot better when everybody wants you to succeed than when everybody around you is trying to get you to fail, you know? Of course, there are some people who thrive on the conflict, so there's, it depends on how sensitive you are to others, but, you know, the basis of strength is to essentially be humble enough that you can learn from other people around you and not just believe that you're superior, right? It's all of that. All of that is what contributes to true strength, because a single person can always fall, you know? So collaborations are what's more important, and if you can have the mental fortitude to sort of set aside your personal pride and work together with somebody else for a bigger vision, then it's a big thing. That's a brave and strong gesture that the universe rewards. So that was a great reading. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys next month.